Good afternoon, people, and welcome to parts 91 and 92 of Build Your Own R2D2, or more accurately, part 91, because nothing is in 92 at all. But don't worry about that, because part 91 is basically making up for 92. So it's basically two parts for the price of one, because this is where I'm doing a motherload and I'm really scared. So be prepared for a possible nervous breakdown halfway through this video. And I found these things inside the pack. I think I recognise one of them there. I found just about every single part I need, so I haven't laid the parts out next to each other this time because they're scattered all around, and I had to order in the replacement part with the missing parts, so got that ready to go. Need to gather all my bits together for this part. Let's go see what I need to do first. Alright, let's take this from the top, because I had to reshoot this entire scene because my SD card was full. It's only a 16 gigabyte. I really should sort out the 64. Anyway, the first thing you're doing is taking this, the bottom of the middle foot, and you need it that way up, and then you need to take one of these, which is the black one, and you need to have this little weird flappy sensory type bit facing that way, and then you need to put it on the left side, so you're holding it that way up, and it's going through, see these two pins there, they're going through the holes in the white part of the little sensor. And after that you need to find the other side, and you need to have, that's the red cable, you need to have the metal part facing that way, and then you need to do the same thing for the other side. These two bits look a lot like little bits of Lego, I must say. I know Chris is building his big Lego car. I have to confess, I haven't watched those, because the only Lego I like is the original Lego where you just got the bricks and you had to use your imagination. Don't mean to offend you there, Chris. Alright, those have nicely, finally, gone flush to the plastic. So, that's that part done. Alright, next you're unwrapping this, and you're taking the tiny end, the teeny tiny end, and you're plugging it into the sensor. It's an infrared sensor, and you're plugging that in that way up. You can see, there we go, now you can see that you need to line up the bits at the side there, the little slot, and it will only go in one way. So that's that bit done. Next, this is where it gets all wiry and confusy. You need to take that, and you need the black bit on the left hand side as you put it into the slot in the foot. Then you need to drive a screw. You're never screwing it in. Oh no, carefully secure the circuit board this time with a little black screw. One screw there, right in the middle of the circuit board. That's quite scary. Okay, I've used a screw and it's screwed in there and it's very solid. I'm going to hope that's the right one. I can't see this being pulled out at all. So next you need to take one of these weirdy plastic bits and you need to put it on top of this. The photos are aligning the wires that way, so that the little pin that sticks up there seems to be forming some kind of tunnel for them. That's my guess anyway. And now I've also got to guess which black screws go in those two holes there. That is what you need to screw down next. Well, that's in there, and now we need to do the same thing on the other side. The white bit pointing up there. White bit, it's all white. That bit pointing up there with the pin on the end. Point that upwards, and I think they're feeding through this, the red wire on the right hand side, like so, and then we're screwing that into place as well. So let me go and find two random screws that are black. There we go, both screwed in. This is another one of those times when I'm thinking, what have I just done? I'm going to guess this is going to be covered by something. So, that being done, it's on with the rest. Alright, next you're taking the wheel and you're sticking it right through the center, and you need to make sure that this bolt, you need to make sure that that fits into the cutout in the plastic there. Generally you have to fiddle around and get a feel for it, and you will know because it's more or less flat when you've put it in there. Of course this needs to be sticking out the top like that. You're taking a washer, a plain washer, which is one of the plain rings, but next you need to put a spring washer, whatever a spring washer is. And then finally, third piece is this final nut. And like another builder I know, I get confused about nuts and bolts as well. There's no sensible way to remember them. You need to tighten this all the way down, and you need to tighten it really, really good with their provided little spanner. So let me go and do that. This is where it gets weird, because you may have spotted, if you're very observant, that all these relate to this, which has magically already been put together. The reason for that is I had already made a video of me making this. The good news is that all those videos are intact, ready for editing. The slightly bad news is that I made them before I got the new microphone, so the sound is rubbish. But in the interests of full completion, I'm going to include those when I come to edit this video. So what you're seeing now is after the horrible sound of the of my camera before I bought the microphone. So I apologise for what you've just heard. It is quite muffled and rubbish. So let me check where I'm up to on this, because it looks like I'm about up to there, because I could see the foot pieces lurking about somewhere. Let me go and organise myself again, and we'll carry on. This is hard, harder than I've ever had it before. I found almost all the pieces I need. The only pieces I haven't laid out, as it says to in the first instruction there, are the... I think I need to sit down for this part because it's a bit of a shock for me to discover that we're going to need some black screws. I know, I never would have thought it, but it's true. I've researched it and everything. The first thing you need to do is, look at that handy little thing there they've put in a photo. A handy little finger rest that they've carved out for you in the metal especially. Isn't that nice? Anyway, from the foot that you saw me make, you have to take all of the wires and feed them through that hole at the end there. Okay, once you've made sure this metal piece is up the right way and fed the wires through this dangling piece of metal here, this is looking more sensible by the minute, then you have to feed it through the left side of the foot, which on the face of it seems just so logical, doesn't it? Because I mean that's at the end and this is going on the side, so naturally you'd fit it through there. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work, but oh, apparently you it gets better because you have to fit this metal piece onto the edge of the plastic of the side of the foot. Maybe it's going around. Don't know what they mean, but I'm going to find out, and I'll get back to you once I've cracked it. I love having fun, people. I've fitted it through there, but what they don't tell you is that despite having it up the other way when the metal piece is on its own to feed the wires through, you have it up that way then, but in order to fit it onto the right side of the, well obviously the left side of the foot, the right way round, you have to then flip this over again. So it's like, oh yeah, you know this bit you've just been doing, well forget about that, you just need to do it the other way now. But I've conquered that, but I've yet to see how this is going to fit round the side. There, maybe. Who knows? Let me go and see if I can screw this into place with something that makes sense. I've secured it there with the 2 black screws. It's just about hanging on for dear life there. Next you need to put 2 of these in either side. I'm trying to work out if they both go the same way and it will still be correct, because I'm fairly certain that that side and that side are not the same width. Let me see if I can work this out and put these side details on. Well, what I can say for certain is they both went in there. Other than that, who knows if that's right or not. Let's see what's next. Alright, here's the science bit. I've just swapped them over and it appears to be exactly the same. So, that being said, that must be right. Okay, I have to record this bit for posterity because these are what's next. 2 very significant pieces, because I had to stop building R2D2 because I had to reorder the magazine from a long time ago that contained this bit. So there we are. You basically just put the bar through the 2 holes, like so. Alright, so that's done. I think I've done this right. You know, I'm not one for always reading the instructions before I get to work. Well, I did study the instructions and I couldn't work out for the life of me what they were trying to tell me. But I eventually worked out that it needs to go in that way, because if I put it in the other way, then it just looks really weird. So we're going for that because it looks more or less like it does in the picture. Although I'm fairly certain that this actual piece has changed, maybe, from their original photo. Maybe they changed the part, I don't know. It doesn't look the same as this, somehow. That could be my idle speculation. But anyway, that's in there now. So now I'm rather relieved to tell you that once you've put this bit over that bit, then you'll never have to fiddle around inside the foot again, hopefully. So I've got to put, presumably, the metal pivot needs to go into that tiny little hole there in the corner. So let's try and do this. Well, the housing is together, but that bit is wobbly. Don't know if it's supposed to be wobbly. Guess I'll find out soon enough, as always. Finally, the final and 3rd foot is done. I had to swap out that screw there because it was tightening it. It was screwing in, but it was never tightening up. So swapped it over. This little bag of black screws, not that little bag. This little bag of black screws. They all appear to be the same size black screw, but maybe not all black screws are made equal, because that one did seem to be thinner that I swapped out, and the other one is screwed in there nicely. So that's made me happy. All 4 are in there, and there's my 3rd foot. What's next? Next, it's on with these little white, I don't know if these are the actual right ones. They look slanted like the foot is. I'm going to pull these off and put these in the holes in the foot that it tells me to. And there we have it. Looking pretty good. Although you're always going to see them. I love the way it says, match up the angle of the plugs to the slope of the side of the foot. I'm thinking they're all angled. Every single one of them. I guess that one was the most different one, but all the rest looked exactly the same to me. It's time to fit the legs onto there. Now, you need to take the left leg, and you're using a cable tidy to, it's right at the top there. Sorry about that. You need to cable tidy these wires. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, the most awkward part of using cable tidies is starting them off in the first place. But once I got going, that all fell nicely into place, and I'm very happy with that. Okay, you have to feed this cable tidied bunch of wires through the left side shoulder hole, and then, okay, despite, correct me if I'm wrong people, but at no point anywhere did it say, by the way, put a washer onto the big screw that you're using to screw this in afterwards. But yeah, all of a sudden it's got a picture. Can't actually see where I'm pointing here. It's got a picture of someone holding a screw, and oh, it's got a washer on the end. But at no point in the magazine does it ever mention, make sure you put a washer on the screw. That's not too good. But regardless, at least the picture is there, I guess. So let me go and feed this wire through. Probably raise the camera. Okay people, in the words of the great C3PO, we've been having some problems this side. Put it this way, I was on the verge of giving up completely and abandoning the whole thing, because this piece of solid metal was already in there, and therefore that stopped me from screwing in the side of the right leg to the frame. I cannot imagine in my wildest imagination a situation where the instructions said, make sure you don't screw that in yet, but instead I went, oh no, I think I know better, I'll screw it in anyway. That's not going to happen. So I am completely mystified, and it was a hell of a job wrenching that bit of metal out. I've snapped off one of the lips of it that catches onto the inside of the plastic. So I've only got one of those left, but hopefully it should go in still okay. Just the one. It's just going to be maybe a tiny bit loose. But I just had to get it out, because if I didn't get that thing out again, model over. It's not been the most fun night of my build, to be honest, but as ever, I've somehow managed to overcome. And the other part was that the thickest black wire there that's poking out, that was then trapped because it only came up to, it was coming out of the top half. And so what happened was, when I was screwing that in, it was then squashing the black wire, because there's no other holes cut out where the black wire can go. So that was my next big problem, until I eventually calmed myself down and worked out that I spotted that you could actually feed the black wire underneath the metal ring inside here. So that's what I did, and then it ended up coming out the bottom in the same place as all the other wires. So thank God for that, because that was the other biggie that would have also stopped me from finishing. I would have said, sorry everyone, thanks for watching 90 parts, but it's all got to end now. Sorry about that. Both legs are now on, and now I've got to fiddle around with the base. And it's even less clear whether they want you to put washers on the big thick screws for the base. There is no separate picture showing a washer. So that being said, I'm going to assume that you don't need a washer. And let's hope I'm right about this one, because the instructions do not make that clear. Anyway, let me plough on, because this one single part is not over yet. Well, that's on, nice and solid. Finally, thank God, it's time to fit the middle leg. I actually do describe the screws a bit better which ones do you need? It says you need the countersunk ones, which I am thinking are the thick screws with the flat heads. So let me go and fit this leg. Is it just me? Holding the foot this way round. Feed the two leads through this opening. Holding the foot this way round. What foot? He's just holding some wires, which are going to nowhere. Is it really just me? Anyway, going to try and work this out. Let's just assume that it didn't really matter where the foot was, because it's only ever going to go on that way, with the sensor floppy bit at the front, and the wires underneath, inside this, obviously. What could go wrong, people? What could go wrong? Oh my god. I can't really get a long shot that does it justice without exhibiting half my flat. But it's done, and I'm very happy to say that those went in with the greatest of ease. So that was luckily not too traumatic. Well, it was, but there's a little tour for you. Obviously you have to drop the wires down the sides as well, which I forgot to mention, but that's not a massive extra thing that I missed. But I'm still mystified as to what that was doing in there already. Has anyone else had that problem? I would love to know, because there is no way on earth that I would have put it in there if it said don't put it in there, because that's a very serious thing, because it stops the whole leg from being bolted on. So why would I stop that happening? It's a mystery to me. I could go all through the previous magazines to find out whether I was told to put that in, but that would take another whole night just to look that up for confirmation. But as for 91, we are done. I am done. I'm definitely done with 91. Ended on a nice little rhyme there. Okay, so we've got through it. Thank God. 92 involves telling you not to charge the batteries, which I've actually started to do. And I may continue to do that, because I'm thinking they take hours to charge, because you have to charge them separately. So whichever way you do it, there is no way on earth that some of them aren't going to lose a tiny bit of charge at least. So I'm not entirely sure what the problem is starting to charge them all up now. Hopefully it's going to be plain sailing, because this was certainly not plain sailing. Let's hope I've not put any other bits in that shouldn't be in there already. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, that is the end of these two parts, because obviously 92 is not very significant. It's not building anything at all. So thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me through my pain, and I'm feeling a bit better now, because this has pulled a lot of it together that was lying around on the desk, and we're nearing the end. So I'm less anxious about mixing all the screws up as well with my Terminator now. Everything was falling off while I was wrestling with this thing, trying to get the bit of metal out the side, which I eventually did by brute force. And I'm sure there's bits rattling around in these legs as well that I heard. But never mind. I'm sure it's nothing catastrophic. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.